There we go, podcast time. It's a Wednesday. It's a holiday week, so it's a short week. Al, what is going on?
It is a short week, Jerry. I'm annoyed already at everything around here. But we took a phone call from a guy who said he was engaged to be married.
Oh, I did hear this call.
And he met the HR woman where he works, and they fell in love. And he had to cancel his wedding to a different woman. And now he is married, in fact, to the HR woman.
Right. I heard your question.
Yeah, my question was doesn't she then think he's always talking to other women because he was engaged once, and while engaged, met this HR woman that he fell in love with, who he's now married and have children with.
All right, so if he did this once, why wouldn't he do it again?
Yeah, which is always weird because anytime there's a relationship that begins with someone cheating on a current relationship,
right,
that person's always got to be thinking, like, are they cheating on me as well?
I would think so, yeah. How could you not think that? And it doesn't mean they are, but how would you not think that?
Yeah. But the weird thing to me is when it seemingly works out. Like, I always think of Bruce Springsteen in this situation.
Right. How?
Bruce Springsteen was married to an actress named Julianne Phillips.
Okay.
This is about 1986, I think it was. 86, 87, somewhere in there. He was married to this woman and went on tour, and it was on tour overseas. And his backup singer, Patti Scialfa, they were seen canoodling on a balcony in like Spain or something, Portugal, one of these things. And it's like, Bruce is married. What's going on here? And he had moved Patti Scialfa on stage to where Clarence Clemens used to be, and Clarence Clemens was moved. It was a very interesting thing. So clearly he was with this woman while he was still married.
Yeah. But he's still married to this Patty, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Patty and him have been married since like 1989 or 90.
Yeah.
And have 3 children, seemingly have a great relationship. And somehow that worked out. So,
well, I guess the way you sell it is he knew it wasn't the right fit, but they weren't the right couple for one another. The relationship was not proper, which is maybe what and why he ended up. I don't know. It's a tough one because I would think in a lot of cases there'd be a lot of questions, whether when you're you're unaccounted for, or you're taking too long in the bathroom, or you're supposed to go grab eggs and it takes you 30 minutes to come back. How would you not question every move that's made that's not normal? Yes.
I know, it's really weird. And yet they were seemingly made to be a couple, made to be together.
Well, no one's made to be a couple, but it's worked out better.
It's worked out, yeah. And I think this Julianne Phillips went on and married a different person. And it's just strange sometimes because we kind of forget that part of a person's history when that happens.
Sure.
No one ever brings up that Bruce Springsteen was married.
That's a long time ago now, I think.
Right, but that's what happens. But it doesn't even come up. He writes a book. He does it just never comes up.
Now, to your point, though, Bruce Springsteen's a great example. Perhaps this guy that called in's a good example. I guarantee you there are people out there, it didn't go so great.
Right, where they leave they call off an engagement to marry the HR woman.
And
or
that
to
doesn't go so
date
good.
The HR woman, it doesn't go so good. And then they're calling back the ex-fiance going, take me back.
To me, it's no different than we talk about this guy won this prop bet for $500,000 because he had 14 legs of a parlay. What about the other 1,000,002 parlays that didn't hit? Like, we sit there and we highlight the good stuff and we just kind of, the bad stuff over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
It's always interesting.
Convenient.
Though. Yeah. But I just all I kept thinking of is this guy's got to be constantly being questioned about what he's doing, especially you're now married to this guy and he goes off to work. Are you wondering, is he interested in the HR woman at this new job?
Why wouldn't he be?
Yeah.
Especially since they got together when he was working with her.
Yes.
And now he's off on his own somewhere else again.
Unbelievable.
You mentioned, it's funny you say the whole thing with Bruce out in Spain, or I still say, and I'm not saying it cannot be done. Don't get me wrong, but guys that have traveling jobs, even women that have traveling jobs, come on. You got to be kidding me.
Right. You're married to a stewardess, pilot.
Good luck. I'm not saying there aren't ones that are 100% faithful, and I'm sure there are, but there's a lot that are not. There's no. I mean, if you're living your life in hotels, in different cities, in different countries, come on,
Living my life
that's
in
a
a
tough
motel.
life for a couple.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah, it seems very difficult.
Yeah.
Very difficult.
Has to be.
Andrew Marchand, who is a sports media writer.
For the New York Post, still, right?
No, he's at The Athletic,
The
I
Athletic
believe.
now, that's right.
He has a podcast that unfortunately you need to be a member of to listen to.
Yeah, it's a shame because I saw he had a post about Boomer the other day.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you about. And I tried to look it up even on Twitter, but Twitter's down for some reason. But his question, I believe, was, which he talked about in this podcast, was, will there ever be another athlete like Boomer Esiason to go into the type of broadcasting that Boomer's in?
The day-to-day, daily grind, morning radio.
A daily 4-hour radio show
Yeah.
every day for Boomer's done 18 years, 18 years.
Much longer than his NFL career now.
Yeah. And Andrew Marchand's question was, will that ever happen again? Like Boomer was a NFL MVP. He wasn't a guy who was on a couple teams and it didn't work out. Now he's got a media career. Boomer had a huge playing career.
Highest paid player in the league at one point.
Right.
Which is a cool thing to hang your hat on.
And it just doesn't seem like that will happen again.
Well, I don't think guys need the money anymore. And I'm not saying Boomer needed the money. He didn't. But there's money, and then there's what these guys are making now.
Yeah.
You guys making, I mean, we talked about the guy in the NBA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, $72 million a year. Think about what I just said. $72 million a season. You know, why would he ever go work a 4-hour radio show every day? There's no way. He's got more money than his next 3 generations will ever need.
Even guys that are seemingly interested in it that don't need, even if guys don't need the money and it's something that interests them, they're still not going to do it because they'll still, even if somebody, like I think of somebody like CC Sabathia.
Okay. Who would be good at it?
Yeah. Who has been on different podcasts and maybe has even filled in. I don't know if he filled in at ESPN ever, but he was a guy that seemed very interested in doing media.
Yeah.
Even though he does not need the money, he's going to want to be paid a lot of money for his time.
There's no doubt because he doesn't need to do it.
Right. And then once podcast came along, well, now you can do a podcast for 1 hour a week instead of what Boomer does, 20 hours a week at a specific time in a specific location.
Like you got to be committed.
Yeah.
And you got to show up every day on time and be ready to go.
Boomer's the last of a dying breed.
I agree. I totally agree.
Right?
Yeah. I think a guy like Phil Simms could have done it. He chose to do the whole game analyst work instead. I think that's the generation. Like these guys still believe in working hard. And when you commit to something, you follow through with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I'm not saying there aren't guys, current players now that aren't like that. Clearly they show up to work, whether they're NBA, they're there every day and it all's good. But this is different. And when you've got a ridiculous amount of zeros in the bank, you really need to do it, you know. And I'm not even talking financially. Like, I don't know. I just think it's a different age of athlete because the money is so far and away stupid.
Yeah,
that it's a different world.
And the amount of hours that this job that you're on the air also doesn't make sense in this day and age. Like it's very strange to say to somebody like a CC Sabathia, hey, do you want to do a show? It's 20 hours a week. They'd be like, what are you talking about 20 hours a week? I'll do 1 2-hour show.
Because that's available now.
Yeah.
It wasn't available back then.
It was not available.
And the other thing too, like when you hear yourself out loud, it's another part of like the lazy society we're in. Like 20 hours a week. Dude, I was working 60 hours a week when I first got into this business and happy to do it. You work, if you're full-time, 38, 39, 20 hours a week is a dream. But you're right. When guys can make a lot of money doing like Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco. Now those guys, they do 3 hours every night.
Yeah.
That podcast is a show that is anywhere from, I would say, because I try to look at them, I haven't lately, but their shows are usually anywhere from 2.5 to almost 4 hours. When it's him and when it's Shannon and Ocho Cinco, those guys are at least 3 hours every day, and it's every day. So they're kind of doing the YouTube thing / radio thing. It's like a hybrid, and they've had a lot of success with it.
Yeah.
And they've reached so many subscribers now. If they wanted, they could cut back to 3 days a week, 2 hours.
Oh, for sure.
They could do that now. They've done the work.
I wonder how many current sports talk radio hosts that are doing 4 hours a day,
Yeah.
5 days a week, how many of them are former professional players? How many are left? I mean, we got Boomer and Tiki here. So are there others in other cities?
Again, Tiki is not quite the current day. He is, but he's not. I mean, he's only 40-something years old, but he's also made money, didn't make $30 million a year. That's a great question. I don't know. You'd have to take a look at all these sports radio stations around the country to see.
Yeah.
You know, there are sports radio stations that don't bring in a lot of former athletes. You know, some do. Some definitely do. But there are some stations where you look at the morning shows, it's 3 dudes, like random guys.
Yeah.
It's not, you know, whatever, Terry Bradshaw and the Freak. You know, it's just random fans / radio guys.
Yeah, and a lot of times it also was maybe a guy who was on the local NFL team, but he wasn't the star. So like down in Florida, we had the Bucks had a tight end in the Trent Dilfer era named Dave Moore.
Okay.
And Dave Moore had a radio show down there after he'd retired, you know. But he wasn't a big star. He wasn't. He was a tight end. He wasn't making millions and
Especially
millions of dollars in the 90s.
Right.
You know, yeah, there was a guy, Scott Brantley, who was a linebacker, played for the Gators, played for the Bucks. But again, he wouldn't make millions of dollars.
So he got into it.
But someone to do that in the future? I don't know.
You know, it's interesting because there was a while there where you started to see these athletes taking over these jobs.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. You know, it was kind of the one thing, all right, they can play, we can't, but at least we can do this. They started to infiltrate this business. Thankfully, YouTube came along. And it's almost like it's veered them back away from radio to that medium. Shorter hours, potential to make who knows how much money. And it's kind of preserved some jobs.
Yes, it has.
You know,
it has given the knucklehead radio men and women
their jobs back.
Got our jobs back
for as long as radio exists.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's funny too because it's not. You know, they would take one of the host slots. An athlete didn't do a solo show. You know, you have Micah Parsons, I think. Is Micah Parsons the one that does it in Dallas?
He does. Well, he's not on the radio. He does his YouTube show.
But I mean, he does a solo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's not a lot of guys doing that.
It ain't great. Like, he's all over the place.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because he's Micah Parsons and he says things. And people love it. I would have to look. I think there are some former athletes that are lead hosts, but you're right. It is few and far between.
And were they of the MVP
no.
top quarter? Because there's the guy in Boston, Scott Zolak.
Yeah.
But I think he was a backup quarterback,
he was.
if I recall.
I think
right?
Brock Ewart is a lead host in Seattle.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
I know for a long time, if he's not still there, he was in New Orleans, Bobby Hebert.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, but they weren't like as prominent a player as Boomer was.
No, Bobby Hebert was a good quarterback,
yeah.
but he was not an NFL MVP.
Yeah.
That's for damn sure.
Like Peyton Manning's not going to host Indianapolis Sports Talk.
No, but he's working. See, he's an interesting one because you're right. He doesn't have the daily, I'm going to do 2 to 6 in Indianapolis every day and go against McAfee. He's not doing that. That dude's working his ass off, though. He's got that Omaha Productions. He's got the Monday Night Football thing with Eli. I mean, he's involved. That's a guy that's not sitting still.
When Boomer retires, and we're certainly not rushing him out the door, Jerry, when he retires, do you think it'll be a clean break?
Yeah.
Or do you think he signs a new deal and he does Mondays and Fridays only? You know, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, he's out.
That's interesting.
Or he works Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, not Thursday, Friday. You know, does he cut back?
Here's what I would say.
Or does he do 5 days a week, but not in the summer at all?
Well, I was going to say maybe his next deal, which might be his last. I don't know. I hope not. maybe his next deal provides him in the contract language that from Memorial Day weekend until Labor Day weekend, he's on remote from Long Island, from the shore.
Yeah.
I could see that. And that to me is a great way to still do the job, do it full time, but also have your cake and eat it too. You want to be on the golf course by 10:30?
Yeah.
Do the show from out there. And if you need to leave at 9 from time to time, then I sit in for the final hour. I think, there could be some modification, but I don't think he would do like Howard Stern is what, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday?
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. He starts at 7 instead of 6 over
Right,
the
but
last.
we'll go to 11. He'll still give you 4 hours.
But that's true. That's true.
But when he's not on, the show's not on. So, like, that's the thing about Boomer. That would have to be Boomer's going to do, let's say, Monday, Thursday, Friday, but he ain't working Tuesday and Wednesday. But the show still has to go on. So does that mean all of a sudden Tuesdays and Wednesdays I'm moved in, or are you bringing someone else in as a part-time host? It's interesting. I still think the summer thing is a good thing.
Yeah.
For him.
Let's take off in the summers.
Yeah. Or he works from here in the summer and he lives out in Arizona in the winter and does it remotely. Who knows? I think there's something that could be done or worked out.
He ain't going to Arizona. He's got grandchildren's now.
Yeah, I know, but I think for a few months during the coldest months, it's not like you're leaving them.
Our damn families keep us here, Jerry.
Yeah, I suppose.
We could all be living in paradise.
We could be. Although I don't know
Wherever
where
that
paradise
is.
is anymore.
Yeah, I don't know where that is
To be
either.
quite honest. I'm big on the Bahamas right now, but
Yeah. Feels like everything that you think is paradise has something terrible about it,
everywhere.
right?
There's no escaping the lack of paradise.
Yeah.
We could try.
Yeah.
Bermuda seems lovely. That's where Tony Page, I believe, is going to be moving to soon.
He's going to move there?
I believe that's the plan because his wife is from there.
Is that right?
I think when she retires, because he's been retired 5 years now, maybe
Wow.
longer, 6 years. I believe 7 years. I think when she does retire, which should be soon, I believe there's a possibility that they will relocate to Bermuda.
A Bermudian.
A Bermudian.
Wow.
Yep.
Tony doing Bermuda sports talk.
Hey, I don't think he's into sports talk anymore these days.
Local sports talk with Tony Page on
Does it-
Bermuda radio.
Doesn't need to be. He's done.
Yeah.
He is done. I don't know how he feels his day, to be quite honest, but I haven't talked to him since Fliegelman's wedding.
Yeah. I like that Tony Page. He was a nice
So do I.
fellow.
Great dude.
He was a nice fellow.
Yep.
I realized today that I just don't look good in shorts.
Your thin, bony legs ain't working?
Something just ain't right when I'm in shorts.
Is it that you're just not used to seeing yourself in them?
I don't
Because
know,
I will
like
tell you, it's not just you. I've been from doctor's office to grocery stores. There are a lot of women that don't look good in shorts.
yeah.
There's a lot of men that don't look good in shorts. It's just, to me, almost gross. There's not much material
Yeah.
between you and that area. And some people got veiny legs. Some people got hairy legs. Some people got thick legs. Some people got bone-ass legs like you.
Some people got cottage cheese looking legs.
Especially when they sit down.
Yeah.
You see they're gross.
Yes.
And I like pants.
Yeah, like I feel like me in jeans and a t-shirt, I could pull that off.
Absolutely. All the time.
Put the shorts on instead of the jeans.
Let me ask you this. Are your shorts short?
No, they're just above the knee. Just
See, I
above
go
that's supposed to
see,
be.
I like below the knee.
But like a couple of young guys running around here today.
You're not great, by the way.
But that's the style for the younger guys.
looks terrible.
The shorts do not go down to the knee.
They're
They go
awful.
about mid-thigh.
It's gross. I don't need to see mid-thigh.
yeah.
That means you're 6 inches from seeing 5 or 6 inches.
Yeah,
No
your
thanks.
wiener.
And
You
what's
hear
holding
that?
it in?
Yeah.
No. I like shorts that go below the kneecap. And I don't give a crap if it's out of style. I'm comfortable in that. Then all you see is the bottom part of the leg. You don't need to see the big fat thighs. No thanks. Ugh.
I also think the thing that makes me look weird in shorts is what you really need to do if you have shorts on, you have to have the shoes the slip-on shoes that you wear, no socks or flip-flops. Otherwise, like if you put sneakers on with a sock, that's the part that I think I'm not.
Well, I wear
pulling
socks,
off.
but the socks only go right to the edge of the sneaker.
Yeah.
You don't even see them really. You might see like a tiny, maybe a half inch.
Yeah, by the way, I bought no-show socks,
Yeah.
quote unquote.
They
Let
show.
me show you, Jerry.
You're a no-show? Yeah, that's what I wear.
Oh, okay, but these are showing.
They show. But they're right to the top of the tongue of the sneaker.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's about as good as you're going to get, unless you want to get the girly socks.
Yeah, give me
that,
some
like, when
girly
Well, I don't
socks.
mean it that way. I mean, like, a lot of girls wear them that I know. They're like when you go try on shoes, they give you. A lot of girls wear those. You could wear them.
But they say with those, sometimes when you're just even walking,
They kink.
or they slip
Yeah.
off your heel or something.
That's why you got to get what you got.
Yeah.
You're doing just fine.
All right, Jerry, I appreciate that vote of confidence.
So you got it.
Let's do the warm-up program. When we come back here tomorrow, it's going to be Thursday before
Which is really a Friday.
three-day weekend. Holla that. All right, Jerry. So